Manchester City take their January transfer spending to a total whopping figure of £180 million. How dare we spend money? Little old Manchester City spending some money. You know, Chelsea spent £247 million last January transfer window, so you know we're not that bad. We're not that bad. And don't forget what we spent in the summer. Very little, and what we recouped in the summer with the likes of Julian Alvarez transfer fee. So we're spending what we've earned as of right now. And I am looking forward to the future with Nico González being acquired for a total of 50 million English pounds. It's a huge potential for Manchester City here. I am seeing a lot of comparisons to Rodri, though, some of which I think is very unfair, in all honesty, because I think you're comparing Nico González, the 23-year-old Porto midfielder, versus Rodri, the 28-year-old finished article, Ballon D'Or winning, unstoppable juggernaut midfielder that is Rodri. You know what I mean? A little bit unfair, in all honesty, because I think the age gap is huge, in particular in that position, and in particular when you've received 4 years of Pep Guardiola's tutelage, as has Rodri. You know, Nico González is about to receive that tutelage, so what is he going to become? You know, I think it's a little bit fairer to compare the current Nico González to the 23-year-old Rodri and see what the baseline was, how the player that Rodri started at Manchester City, just like Nico González, and how he's going to start at Manchester City. So here you can see Data MB, what their stats they're providing here right now is actually Nico González and how he fares against other Liga Portugal midfielders. He's smashing it. He's smashing it in his division. Quite comfortably the best midfielder in that league right now. With confidently being described as an all-rounder. His attacking stats tend to be a little bit more favourable than his defensive stats. And that's what we're going to do later into this video. We're going to start comparing Rodri to Nico González, or the 23-year-old version of Rodri at least, and how he defended in a Manchester City shirt in his first season at Manchester City. So what you can see here, the basics here, this is from Data MB. Nico González is smashing it, absolutely smashing it in Liga Portugal, with a lot of these stats being in first place, second, third, and worst case, fourth. You know, so a very, very good midfielder there, as you can see, compared to the rest of the Portugal midfielders. And then Data MB provided this graphic, which is he dwarfs him. Rodri does. I mean, who doesn't get dwarfed by the absolute beast that is Rodri in that particular position? You know, so I mean, Rodri being the pink graphic that surrounds the blue graphic. Yeah, I mean, come on, a little bit on the harsh side there, to be honest, because I mean, as you can see with the age aspect there, he's 23-year-old Nico González versus 27-year-old Rodri. So that's actually the previous season. Not comparing Rodri this season because he's barely played any football this season. But like, hardly surprising to see Nico González not being quite as good as Rodri. But what about Nico González now versus Rodri when he was the same age? I think that's a fairer comparison. So let's do that. Attacking stat comparison first of all. So as you can see, a lot of what you're about to see here for Nico González versus 23-year-old Rodri is positional. I think that's a real indication of where the two players have played their football on the pitch. Is one's playing a little bit higher up the pitch, closer to the goal, to create goal-scoring opportunities and score them himself, Nico González, whereas Rodri played a lot deeper in the Fernandinho role as he was being transitioned out of the club and Rodri was being transitioned in to that number one defensive midfield position that Manchester City need so badly. And we are missing so badly this season. So important. But what can Nico González do going forward compared to Rodri going forward in that same, of the same age, being 23-year-old Rodri? So yeah, goals and assists per 90 minutes. He's absolutely smashing it at the minute, González, with 0.49 goals and assists per 90 minutes. Incredibly good. And I mean, expected goals and assists per 90 minutes. They've got the same as Rodri, but he's massively outperforming himself there. He's dwarfing his own XG and A. Brilliant from Nico González to see that. Shot creating actions and goal creating actions, both per 90 minutes. Yeah, very, very impressive numbers going forward. And as you can see with the successful take-ons as well per 90 minutes. Only just a bit better than Rodri, but still better than Rodri. What's interesting there, though, is the successful take-ons percentage. And interpret these stats as you will. And the way I interpret that is, if you are taking on a defender that is known for defending and is therefore better at tackling attackers, they are trained to tackle. You know, the percentage successful take-ons is going to be harder because you're playing higher up the pitch. You're taking on defenders, whereas Rodri's is beating the press. Attackers who just close you down, but they're not built to tackle. They're not built to be a natural defender, whereas Nico González is taking on defenders in his position. So the percentage of successful take-ons versus because of the attempts that he's actually trying to do, he isn't as good as Rodri, which is why Rodri's picking his moments very wisely. Even the young version of Rodri is still successfully taking on players. But picking his moments wisely to do that. But yeah, he's against attackers, whereas González is taking on defenders. And again, another indication of the positions these two players are playing in with progressive carries per 90 and progressive passes. Both Rodri in that department is better than Nico González, but again, because you've got the grass in front of you, you've got the football pitch in front of you, so you've got the availability to carry that ball forward because there's more grass to run into. The same logic applies to passes. There's more grass in front of you, so therefore you can pass the ball further forward compared to Nico González, who's playing higher up the pitch. Further indicated by the progressive passes received, because he's receiving the ball higher up the pitch compared to Rodri, who's receiving the ball much further deeper, closer to it, to his own goal, compared to the likes of Nico González. So even though there's a positional difference between the two, I think it's still impressive the numbers that Nico González is getting, and showcases his ability to score goals and his ability to create goals in the same process. So I think that's good news for Manchester City. But what are they like defensively? Rodri, 23-year-old versus Nico González, 23-year-old. Let's have a look defensively, shall we? Yeah. Ain't too bad. You know, those that say he can't tackle, and neither could Rodri when he was 23, evidently. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about. Pep Guardiola tutelage. This is the baseline of Rodri, the starting point for Rodri in a Manchester City shirt versus the starting point for González, don't forget. So who knows what could become for Nico González? Because right now, today, you consider Rodri, as do I, as an absolute beast, an all-rounder, an almost perfect midfielder. Tackling, no problem. Defensive awareness, no problem. Going forward, creating goals, Rodri can do that now. So I would argue the area of the game that Rodri started at was a lower baseline almost, and he's gone on to absolute levels. Unbelievable, Rodri. But González is actually at a higher starting point, even defensively, which I think is again, incredibly good news for Manchester City fans. So if you deep dive into these actual numbers here, tackles won per 90. He's better than Rodri. Dribblers tackled per 90. He's better than Rodri. The best part about that is percentage of dribblers tackled. Again, that right there is a real indication of counter-attack prevention. That's what you're looking at there. Players bringing the ball out when we're on the attack. We're camped on the edge of their own box, and they're trying to bring the ball forward, and you've got to prevent that counter-attack, the counter-press, as it's known as. And the dribbler's percentage that he's tackling is absolutely sensational, with 63.6% of dribblers that try to take him on, they're tackled by Nico González. Brilliant. So those that say he can't tackle, I think you better do your research, because I think this guy's absolutely a potential to get better as well, because this is the starting point. Do not forget that. Blocks per 90, better than Rodri. Clearances per 90 minutes, he's better than Rodri, or was better than Rodri at least, because Rodri has obviously gone on to level. So that's always where this comparison needs to be taken into consideration. And the fact that the caveat is Rodri's now 28, you know. So what's González going to be when he's 28? Interceptions, Rodri's absolutely sensational, even at the age of 23. Nearly an interception per game at the age of 23 is brilliant from Rodri. So his ability to read the game, skipping the aerial duels quickly because he's smashing it in that department as well. But ball recoveries kind of linked to interceptions, your ability to read the game, what are the opposition doing, sensing danger, smelling the danger is what Rodri's always been absolutely incredible at. Nico González could definitely work on that aspect of his game, but I mean, in terms of the physical aspect of actually winning your duels, you know, brilliant from Nico González. So I think we've got a very good player on our hands here that's got an immense amount of potential and arguably has a higher starting point than what Rodri did when he was at that same age. Aerial duels, just to quickly showcase you, unbelievable. He's 6'2", so he loves it. He loves a battle in the air. He loves a tackle. I'm incredibly pleased. I'm excited about this. And as much as I've just compared the two, these guys are going to be playing together, not against each other. It's not a case of, oh, Rodri's gone, we've got the Nico González. And yeah, Rodri's gone right now. He's coming back, Rodri. These two will be playing together. That's incredibly exciting for Manchester City fans. And what a future this could be. Are you pleased as a Manchester City fan with the signing of Nico González? Because I'm seeing mixed opinions, and I agreed with those opinions going off the basics, going off the YouTube clips that most people do. go off. But when you take a deep dive into the actual numbers behind the 23-year-old version of Rodri versus the 23-year-old current version of Nico González, I think we've got a proper player on our hands, and who knows what the ceiling is. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how he blends with Kovacic as well. I think that's going to be interesting for the rest of the season, with Rodri being out for the majority of the season at least. The chances of seeing Rodri at the end of the season is slim there. There's a possibility. It sounds like it's a possibility, but I'm not sure we're going to be seeing him before the end of like March or anything like that. So Nico González is definitely needed, probably to play alongside Kovacic for numerous times. In terms of the system, we've seen Bernardo Silva play alongside Kovacic against Arsenal. I would like to see Bernardo Silva dropped in that particular game and Nico González play alongside Kovacic, and who knows what that relationship could blossom into, even if it's just for a few months before Rodri comes back and starts playing alongside Nico González for the next season with Mamouche, and we've got Savinho coming in. Who else have we got coming in the summer? Next season, Manchester City fans, it's going to get exciting. I am so excited for next season. This season's been shit. Let's be honest. Shit. Crap. But we're fixing it. We're fixing it. Hugo Viana is apparently heavily involved with all of these transfer negotiations as well. So let's see what he can do in summer. Incredibly exciting times. Get in the comments below, Blues. Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now.